Good morning. I'm so happy to have you all here. This is the 5th seminar in our series of 6. I have some slides here to just start off with. Maybe they work. We can use this button. So let me just ask for help on that. But next week we have one more on Monday. We have one more session. And you can still sign up for it in the same way that you signed up for this. And this one is going to be on critical conversations and diversity and inclusion. And we have one of the top speakers who is also one of our own one of our own people at the university that is an expert and a wonderful speaker that you're really going to enjoy. So please join us for that. Let me see if I find a way to make this work. Maybe Ed, do you have any ideas on
Is it
slides?
this? Is it that keyboard?
Try this one.
No, because mine's hooked up differently.
I wanted to remind you that we have a full suite of executive education courses that will start in September, the second weekend of September. We start with finance for non-financial managers, and then it goes from there into a total of 15 different classes that you can sign up for. I'm really excited. This is our maiden voyage in executive education, and you need to check it out on the website. So I told you about building the capacity for courageous conversations, which is Monday, same time as now, 9 to 12. We have a lot of people signed up for that. It's going to be really popular. And this is the website where we sign up for Exec Ed and where you can see all the choices of short courses as well as the longer fall selections of executive education courses. We're hoping that when you look through the executive education portfolio that you'll see opportunities preparing for a new career in case you're thinking of changing careers or were forced to change careers. Preparing for promotion, wanting to get into the executive suite. These are going to top off your education with things that you maybe haven't seen or have technologically advanced since your last education. You can update your skills for this changing world. So those are our goals for you, and we hope you'll take a look at that. With that said, I want to introduce Ed Goodman. Ed Goodman is someone I've known for quite a while, and I can speak knowledgeably that he's one of the most incredible people I know. So he is the Chief Experience Officer for Spiral Experiences, LLC. He's also a co-founder of the Mindshare Network with his brother. His bio is like 3 pages long. It is incredibly full of accomplishments, achievements, innovations, awards, things that he's done that other people could only imagine. His client list looks like who's who in the world, from presidents and governments and schools and medical professionals and every industry you can think of. And his specialty is in helping you imagine the unimaginable, think the unthinkable, create the unbelievable. And he's going to help you today by using one of his signature tools. And I'm so proud to have him here for our experience here in the College of Business. Please welcome Ed Goodman.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you very much. Good to see everyone. It's always so great to get back to CSU. This is where I went to school. Thanks for all the waves. It's nice to see you.
Good morning.
Yeah, great. I hope that we'll be really interactive today. So if you have questions, please yell out at me. I'm not really perfect all the time at noticing the maybe raised hands or the chat. So just in case I miss something, please just go, hey, Ed, let me interrupt you, and we'll go from there. So I'm excited to be here. I got to study here as a kid. I grew up actually in Colorado myself. Do we have other Colorado folks in the crowd? A few? Yeah, see a few hands up. For those I don't know, anyone from really far away on the call? Shout out or chat at me if you're from somewhere far away from Colorado. Not seeing anyone real far away. Maybe we're just shy this morning. Texas. Texas, Rachel. Awesome. Fantastic. San Diego. Oh man, I love San Diego. Love that spot. Yeah, one of my favorite places, Jody. Torrey Pines Golf Course is one of my faves, I gotta tell you. Idaho, Teresa. Nice to see you. You're a Fort Collins kid too. Yeah, if I remember right. So great to see you, California. It's so nice to see you all here. I'm excited to be here with you today and to talk a little bit about pivoting in a crisis. I think we're all facing pretty scary, crazy, bizarre times right now. This is unprecedented. I'm a lot older than pretty much everybody I see on the screen. I can tell you I've been through a few of these in my lifetime, but this is the craziest, most bizarre one I've ever been through. And so the idea of pivoting is something that we'll have to explore today, and I'm excited to be here to help you with it. I think it truly is a defining moment in time. I don't think we've had anything like this before. We're being tested, are we not? I mean, wearing masks everywhere. I took my mask off for the presentation because we're here by ourselves, just two of us in this room. And we're doing this virtually. I would love it if you were all here in person, but we can't do it right now, right? This is a crazy time. And so normal is now over. And I'm really frustrated with all the folks, especially the TV folks and everyone talking about the new normal. I don't think there is a normal after this. I think everything is being shifted and changed. And so the future's begging for aspirational emergence. And I put those two words together on purpose. They has to not just be how do we get out of it, but it should be aspiring. It should aspire us to go forward in a really positive way. Unfortunately, we feel like this poor person too often, don't we? Almost like we're living and working in a crazy straitjacket where all the fun things that we used to have in life seem to have been taken away from us. And we're feeling really confined. Awful chemicals are flowing into our brains all day long from this, and we'll have to learn how to keep those out. So where are we in the midst of this mess, right? This crisis happens. We have major disruption everywhere. It's actually still ongoing, I think, right? And so the natural first step for most organizations and most people actually is secure the situation. Preserve as much as you can, right? Protect yourself. Hunker down, right? Wait for it to go by, right? We're all kind of doing that. We were isolated. We're in our rooms. We're hiding out, right? And that happened for a little while and maybe still is to a certain extent, right? Next step beyond that would be to reflect on where we are. Where is this world? And in context of business, where is the business environment right now? I got to tell you, from my own business, which currently was operating mostly in the world of hospitality, theme park, entertainment, all those kinds of industries, which I was working on. I was working on with my brother, mostly my brother, but me as well, on the Dubai World's Fair in Dubai. That's canceled. I was working on a new theme park in Colorado. We might learn more about that later in our round today. That's on postpone for a little while. So I'm sure some of you are facing some of that too, where your world has been disrupted. And what do we want to do next? Where do we go from here? We're in pre-covery. I don't like to even think of it as recovery yet. It's pre-covery, right? And then the last stage, which is what I really want to focus on with us today, is emergence. Okay, let's just forget that we're stuck. And let's think for the next few hours together we have here. Let's put ourselves in the mindset of reimagining, of rethinking, and reinventing ourselves and our organizations so that when we come out of this on the other side, we have something so amazing to look forward to, we can't wait to get started. I know that's not easy, right? But visionary leaders during this time, the really great leaders, are seeking life-affirming innovation. Life-affirming innovation, ways out of this, right? Those life-affirming innovations will flourish while the scarcity-minded, hunker-down reaction concepts, I think, will struggle to survive. right? So it's going to be up to each of us to think beyond our current circumstance, reimagine our lives, our health, our career, all of it, right? Just take a redo, a relook, a reimagine of the whole thing, right? So in our little course today that we're going to work on together, there's going to be a few steps, and I thought I'd just give you a little preview of what we're going to do. I've had the fortunate good luck of working with a lot of really awesome leaders and innovative companies around the world in the course of my various careers. And so I want to bring some lessons from some of the mentors that I had and some of the great leaders of those organizations back to you. And so I've been talking with them, communicating with them, and we've been deciphering where do we go from here. Then going to teach you about creative strategy and how to do the innovation. And I'm going to teach you a new kind of thinking tool we call spiral thinking, which will allow you to escape the ordinary and create things that are remarkable, that are aspirational, that do connect with you authentically and in a genuine way. So we'll learn about that. And then in the second part, we'll take a little break. In the second part of our session together, we're going to spiral think together. So I'm going to need all your help because it's going to be your ideas that we're going to create. And you're going to help me invent something in the second half. And we're going to do it together, right? And then I'm going to, lastly, before we leave today, I'm going to give you a toolkit which will allow you to take this home for yourself and work on anything you want in your own challenge. Could be your life, could be your career, health, could be about your organizational challenges. It could be anything you want to work on, but I'm going to give you an innovation toolkit that'll be part of your learning today. And after you'll become an expert spiral thinker by by about 11:30 today. Seriously, I believe that. You'll absolutely be able to be an expert at this, and you'll be able to create a new world for yourself. One that you absolutely are so excited about that you knew you couldn't fail. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's look at some of the lessons. Certainly the world's been turned upside down, right? How are we going to emerge from this crazy chaos that we're all in? Seems to me there's two options. A lot of organizations are tossing out some kind of life preserver, and they're hoping they can just ride the wave or the flood or whatever analogy you want to use for a while till someone rescues them and the world goes back to some semblance of normal or the new normal. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm much more of a fan of building transformational emergence. How do we craft new ideas that really get us excited and move those ideas forward? How do we do that? Maybe we should think of things differently. All the world is zigging in crazy chaos. Maybe we should zag somewhere else. You've heard the analogies, right, of moonshots, of sports people who anticipate things. There's even a whole new term I've discovered recently called anticipatory leadership, which I find fascinating. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And even pandemic leadership. There's a new one, okay, for me. But these are all about zagging when everyone else is zigging, right? So even if it's just for today, go with me for today and see what happens. Because if we could do this, if we could zig and create something amazing, if you could reinvent your life or your career or your business and have something you even are more excited about at the end of the day, we've accomplished what we want. I'm not going to kid you though, it's not easy. This is a hard time. I'm struggling myself with it, and I should know better. I've been practicing some of this for 20 or 30 years, and it's still a little tricky because this pandemic, this crisis in economy and disease and even our social systems and climate change and all those things added up, this big, long list of things we're facing right now, all the uncertainties are happening every day, one after another, after another, after another. And in my way of counting, we're about 130 days of constant uncertainty and anxiety and imagery that is bombarding us with negative chemicals to our brains, and that is causing paralysis inside of here, literally, right? Even if we're not trying. Even just the act of putting my mask on to come here this morning is just a constant reminder that we're in this thing that's difficult. So I'm not going to say it's easy. What I am going to tell you to do is the spiral thinking tool we'll learn today is easy, and you can apply it to anything. And if you have the gumption to go ahead and do it, I think you'll enjoy it. So what if you could, just on the other hand, see beyond today's crisis and experience your ideal future, the ideal future as if it's already happening? What if you really saw that inside your brain and you spent time thinking about it? What if everything in my life was just everything I wanted it to be? What would that be like? And we imagine that in our mind, and we imagine it as if it's real. If we do that, the neuroscientists tell us we literally are creating memories of the future. Okay? Not easy to do, but incredibly powerful. What if we could do that? And what if we could rediscover not only who we are, but who we dream of being? And what matters most to you and your team? If we could do that, we can make some real progress. We can break through some of the walls that are holding us back. And lastly, once we've discovered this dream and we've imagined it in our mind, what if we could use our team, all the people in our team, to build a strategy, a strategic pathway to this dream future that we could actually execute? We could build an action plan that included everyone, that was purposeful, that was visionary, and each person was aligned with their special abilities so that it could be implemented. That's the goal. When you can do that, you have transformation. The difference between being preactive, not proactive, but preactive, acting way in advance, or just being reactive, trying to get out of the bad situation, like these poor two gentlemen on the left here. They're trying to pry their way out of a bad box right now. I'd much rather be looking forward into a blue sky and seeing where we could go. And that's what really great leaders do. Right? That's what they do. Great leaders have this deep calling to lead their team in this way, with all these wonderful words that you see on the screen. Right? Anticipation. It's purposeful. It's inclusive. It's visionary. It provides meaning. It's human-centered, and it's possibility-focused. Possibility-focused. That's what great leaders do. They don't just top-down direct on the crisis. They see ahead. This is, they're honest too, right? They say, okay, we're having a big problem, but here's where I see us. Here's where we're going in the future. Here's where we need to be. Let's create a dream together. You help me. And let's get together and let's imagine this in a different way. And let's do this together. And I know we can go somewhere that we believe in. That's what great leaders do. And that involves dreams. Dreams oftentimes is not really a word you see businesses use very much. I like to think, when I talk about dreams all the time, they go, oh, you're that crazy guy, does all that creative stuff. You're always talking about dreams. I'm like, yeah, I am always talking about it because everyone has them. Everyone has dreams. We think we're supposed to latch onto them and pull the dream toward us, but in reality, the best way to pursue it is see the dream, imagine it as if it's real, and then build a plan that pulls the present to the future reality. And that's what we're going to do today, together. Everybody's got a dream, right? We started when we were little kids, having dreams. And it continues. And companies better have one, or else no one's going to get involved. No one's going to want to care about the business as if there isn't a good dream. And so dream, it's not a 4-letter word. For me, it's not. I don't think it's bad to say that word in a business context. And in fact, I think we need to say it a heck of a lot more. What's the dream of this place? What are we here for? I want to feel like that guy. I don't know if I can jump that high anymore, but I want to feel like him. Right? When I go in, I want to know that it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to do this work. Right? Because the dreamer's always more important than the actual dream itself. So we should be engaging in a positive emotional contagion. Let's turn the virus around. Instead of COVID-19, let's talk about positive emotional contagions. What if we release a virus, a pandemic virus into our organizations of positivity and things that we believe in, emotional contagions, and watch that infect all of us? I'd much rather be infected with positive emotions than a sickness. And we just recently met a gentleman who's based out of Colorado, and he's developing this whole concept around pandemic leadership, of actually doing that very thing. Infecting organizations with emotion, positive emotion. I think it's fantastic. So I've had all kinds of crazy dreams in my career. You should know I practice what I preach, I guess. I'm not really talking about this to talk about me, but to say I honestly practice what I preach, and it's helped me in my life do some pretty fun things. I grew up here in Fort Collins, Colorado, not exactly a musical hotbed for especially when I was a kid. Way back, but because I could think differently about music and I could imagine myself in different roles than just being a high school band kid, or playing in the CSU marching band or jazz group, I was able to actually have careers with a lot of pretty known artists and got to be involved in that, and that was really fun. I kind of went on to have a bunch of different kinds of careers. I was a designer of communities. For any of you that are Fort Collins area, I worked on the first Old Town development here in Fort Collins, but I've also designed some cities from scratch down in Florida, Celebration, Florida, up in California, Rancho Santa Margarita, a few cities overseas. Been involved in kind of how would the cities of the future work. I've been an entrepreneur, done a couple high-tech firms. I had a marketing strategy company. We got to work with a lot of top companies doing that. So it's not really about me or my experiences. It's about using this thinking tool to find the dream that captures you at the time. So when I would get to a point in my career where I wasn't loving what I was doing, I would pull out my spiral thinking tool and I would reinvent my life. And I would just go do it. And that's how I got to be a television producer based out of Fort Collins. That's how I got to have a nonprofit for kids, to connect kids with their dreams. We worked with about 80,000 kids around the world and with all these world leaders who helped. And now I'm doing spiral thinking think shops like we're doing today to try to teach this to people. Because if I could help them find their dream and make it true, that's what I want to do with the rest of my career. So we do these think shops for organizations and for people. And we have the Mind Shared Network, which I developed with my brother, to have these toolkits, one of which you'll get today. But it's also online and that. And so I'm excited about it. By thinking differently, we got to work with lots of companies. As Sue mentioned, just kind of a smattering. I'm not going to talk about this, but just so you know that this stuff actually can work, because it worked for all these companies that we got to work with. And so if it can work with them, and these are some of the more creative companies in the world, at least a few of them. So a lot of what I'm sharing is lessons I learned working with them and with some really great leaders. So we'll keep going here. Any questions so far? Anybody? Okie dokie. All right, so I think we all agree, right? World's different, changing all the time. So organizational ecologies need to shift, right? Do we really need human resources anymore? Or should it be a talent agency? I don't know. Wouldn't it be great if everyone had a talent agent? Why do just super famous actors and pro athletes have one? I want one, right? We did this for a healthcare company. Guess what happened to turnover when everyone had a talent agent? Went from 26% to less than 2%. It's amazing, right? We should all have things. We can change the way our organizations work just by changing some of the way we think about it. Certainly there's disruption everywhere. Everybody gets that. Find this fascinating, though. Even before COVID, a study came out that said 3/4 of the Fortune 500 in 10 years' time will be companies we haven't yet heard of. Think about that. That's like, what is that, 300 plus of the Fortune 500 will be companies that we have never heard of. I guess that makes sense when you think about the rise of things like Amazon and those kinds of companies. It wasn't that long ago when I was in an Apple meeting when it was going bankrupt. And now it's this huge place, right? So if you think about all these technologies that are out there in the world right now and where they're going, when I work with futurists and think tanks around the world, they keep reminding me of all these things that are coming. It's no wonder that world is going to keep shifting. So COVID or not, we all need to pivot. And we need to constantly be pivoting and looking and imagining, because all these things are changing. All of them, right? And they're changing the way we do things. I've watched some demos at some tech firms recently that haven't been announced yet, and unfortunately I can't tell you too much about them, but they're going to revolutionize industries that they're not even part of. The healthcare industry is about to get completely disrupted by someone outside of healthcare. Let me just say that. And it's amazing, right? So exponential disruption, not just a little. We're on the upward rise right now. So in this world, ideas and creativity will be the currency of the future. Ideas and creativity. That's what organizations are looking for. They're looking for people who can do that. Thinkers, imaginers, disruptors, inventors, innovators, right? That's what we're going to need, right? And they are the antidote to worry and negative stress. Whenever I get ultra stressed out from all this craziness, I just stop, pull out my tools, and start rethinking something. It might just be, how am I going to make today a lot happier? It might just be that exercise, instead of waking up with stress or worry, right? In order to do that, we just need to have a really good idea of our platform, and this will be in our tools today, our platform, who we are, and what really matters to us. We're going to need unbelievably cool new ideas, which I'll teach you how to do. It's really easy. And we're going to need to be able to design a strategy so we can put them into action. Great ideas don't help us if we can't execute on that, right? It's great to have great ideas, but we have to be able to execute, implement. That's what we'll do. A lot of my clients right now are this guy. They feel just like him. They are in anxiety paralysis. My Colorado-based theme park is stopped because the funders of that, because it's very expensive, the funders of that giant project, they're from outside the United States, and they're scared to death about the United States right now and what we're doing. Scared to death about how we're reacting to this. So they're on pause, right? They can't react. I'm trying to get them there, but they can't do it, right? And I think a lot of us feel like this, right? Sometimes we feel like it's okay if you do. Just remember there's options. Need to shift our mindsets, right? It's easy to feel helpless or deficient. When I was in music, I felt this at the beginning for sure. I definitely felt like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm talented enough to play with that band or with that artist. You really think I'm going to play with Barbra Streisand in a concert? Seriously? A solo thing? I don't know I can do that, right? So you have to be able to move the mindset across from feeling helpless to feeling motivated, or deficient to actually feeling like I could do this, right? Mind, you hear that expression, mind over matter? There actually is something to that. When we put really positive images of our future into our brain and we see them really well, it's amazing what happens after that. And you hear about athletes who do that. They run the race before it starts in their mind and see themselves finishing. Great golfers, that's my sport. I love to, they see the putt go in the hole before it goes, right? It's really important to change our mindset. Sorry about that. See the world differently. This is one of my favorite images I have, and I have lots of crazy pictures, as you can kind of tell, because I love this guy looking through this device. He's seeing farther than he can see with his own eye. Back in the day when these were first invented, these things we call more like telescopes and things now, they were called far seers. These things that allowed you to see far. I love that. I think we all need to become far seers. You need to have the curiosity to look further, right? So, activity for you guys, and here's first participation, okay? Think about your organization and tell me where you are on the scale from here. Is your organization kind of in the middle? Or is it just sort of stuck in status quo? We're kind of doing what we always kind of do. We're just trying to get back to the normal thing. Are we adverse to change, or are we an organization that is way over on the innovation side? Whatever you think. Shout them out or type it in, whatever you think. Reb says status quo. Not surprised, right? Status quo Barbie. Yeah, doing what we've always done because we've always done it that way. Wow, isn't that true? Isn't that true? Honestly, right? Teresa's using innovation. Love it. Tracy, innovation. 75% up the scale. I love that. We think we're 2 steps ahead of where we are. Some are right in the middle. I like that. I like that you're all at least there and going forward. That's fantastic. I got to tell you, I've worked with a few that were on the far left of that. Completely change adverse. And using these tools, we're able to kind of get them out of that mode, but it's not easy. Not easy to do, right? So I love it. I love that you guys are moving ahead. Hopefully that'll be true for your own life too. And you'll be willing to do that, right? So here's a few more just quick lessons while we're on this lesson train of what are some of the really smart people that I've been lucky enough to mentor with have to share with us about organizational creativity and innovation. It's great if there's 1 or 2 people, like you guys probably are them. You're at an executive ed class. You probably are those people who are the innovators and the leaders. How do you get a whole organization to have a culture of creativity and innovation? That's harder, right? That's a lot harder, right? My clients on the far left, this is how they play the business game. Let's just see what happens. Rock, paper, scissors. Let's just let happen what happens. And then we'll blame people if we don't like it. That's some of them. I also have this client. I fired them a couple weeks ago. I fired this client. It's not this person, but this client, honestly, because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear how the world's changing. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to listen to it. They want to ignore that there's anything going on, right? They just want to hide and wait. Hide and wait, and hopefully it'll go away. All of us probably have some baggage from our past. And now we got to think about, okay, we're on a new journey. What baggage should we leave behind? What's worn out its welcome in the future world? And what baggage should we maybe leave back there and not take on the new trip? Right? One of the kind of cool exercises organizations can sometimes do is think about, what are all the things we should never do again? Right? That's sometimes a fun little exercise. So in the news, my company is called Spiral Experiences, right? And in the news, everything's about the downward spiral, right? How the world's just spiraling down. Everything's bad, right? Lots of people getting infected. The economy spiraled down. You know, we have social systems that are, there's unrest and problems with all of that, which we can certainly agree that there's all that, right? The climate change, the climate spiraling down, everything's spiraling down. We purposely named our company Spiral Experiences because we want to reverse the downward spiral and make upward spirals, right? So that's what we get to do today together is we get to create upward spirals. We get to flip it upside down and go up. And I enjoy that. Nelson Mandela had a great quote, which I love. And I think if we all lived more by that, everything would be a lot better. A lot of times when we're in crisis, people talk about we're going to need to have change. And they start dictating ideas for change. We'll just make up one. So I'm a local restaurant, and it's like, now we have to change the way we do business. You can only pick up at the curb, or maybe we can open up a little bit, and now only 40% of the tables can be open, and we can have people spread out outside for this, right? We just have to change to that. All the servers have to wear a mask. We have to throw away our menus, right? We can talk about change like that. And it's usually negatives, negatives, negatives. And so this woman on the left side of your screen, it's no wonder she's not really excited about change. I don't know very many people that like change. I don't know if any of you do, but I hate it. I really don't like it. Everybody goes, well, yeah, you do. You're all about change. I'm like, no, I'm not about change at all. What I am about is transformations. Things we believe in. When you think about them, like this gentleman on the right, you're so excited about what you're thinking about, where you're going in the future. I got all kinds of ideas of what we can do. I heard of a pizza restaurant, using the restaurant example, who decided they weren't hardly making any pizzas in their 500 plus degree oven. They said, you think we could make face shields in our pizza oven? And they started making face shields, and they're selling them all over the world. Okay, now I don't know if they really want to be in the face shield business forever, but talk about transformation. I'm making pepperoni pizzas yesterday, and today I'm making healthcare face shields I'm shipping all over the world. And they're doing them in lots of them, right? We don't have to stay in the businesses that we think about, and we can create ideas that are transformational. That's what we need to do to pivot. Inside your organization, my guess is there's hidden creativity all over the place. People have ideas, they don't get asked. Right? Teams don't come together. But the really, really great companies involve lots of people in the creativity. They don't direct it from a few from the top. They get a lot of people involved, and they get all kinds of awesome ideas from people in various parts of the organization. Other thing they do is they build a culture that focuses on creativity. That means you have time allotted, not just once in a while, not just during the crisis, all the time. At Google, you get one day a week to do this, to be creative, on your own, whatever you want to create. Create something amazing. The only caveat is you have to bring it back at some point and present it to us. And if Google decides to do it as an organization, then they include you in it and you get to have part of the idea, right? At other organizations, it's a certain amount of time per week. It's a Friday afternoon every week, or whatever it is. If you get nothing from me beyond this, if you would dedicate yourself to 2 hours a week of thinking into the future, of what my dream future might be like, and then use our spiral tool that you'll get this here later to look into that, you'll be able to change almost anything you need. But you need at least 2 hours, and it's got to be uninterrupted. Go somewhere you love to go. I don't care if that's a rock in a forest or where it might be, but go somewhere that's inspiring to you and sit there uninterrupted and do the work, because you'll really find that it does it. The other thing, it's okay if you make a mistake and you fail. The careers that I put up for me were like 2/3 of them. I had a few failures too. I had a few failures. It's okay. I don't feel bad about that. At the time, it felt kind of bad, but it's okay. If you make a mistake, adjust, do something new. It's okay to do that, right? But if we do this really in a culture of creativity, we can build alignment with everyone on the team. We can practice it. Do it over and over till we get really good at it, and it'll become who we are, be part of our DNA. So that we have this incredible ethos. Great companies have great ethos. They know who they are. Everybody usually knows that. A lot of companies don't really know why they exist. And quite a few don't know who they dream of being. And maybe a leader even knows, maybe the founder, but maybe not everybody in the organization knows that. I worked with Disney a long time as a consultant. I can tell you they absolutely know.
Everyone knows what that's about who works there. It's about happiness and memories, right? That's what it's about. And they discover and rediscover that greatness every single day. Not one day goes by where it isn't examined. Did we increase the happiness and the memories of our guests today? Are we doing that for our staff? Is our staff happier? And are they creating more memories? Are we fully utilizing their talents? And they do it every day. And they even do it sometimes throughout the day. It might be, you're looking at a picture of the Disneyland castle, right? I mean, there's princesses that live there in the daytime, and mostly, I don't mean this in any kind of sexist way, but mostly little girls who love princesses, mostly little girls, not totally, but mostly, flock there in the mornings to meet their favorite princess, right? So using technology, what if the princess already knows your name when you come up? How much different will that be? Those are the ideas we're working on right now. When they walk up to meet Elsa for the first time, and that's their favorite princess of all time, when Elsa can lean down and go, Marianne, it's so great to finally meet you. I knew someday we would meet each other, and I'm so happy to meet you. You think that doesn't create happiness and a memory? And the parents go, oh, I don't care that we paid $500 a head today to go to Disneyland. This is the coolest thing we've ever done, right? So how do you change, right? How do you evolve? Even those guys are evolving every day. They're trying to figure out now how to open up in the midst of craziness. They've got a plan of how to do it in the theme parks, but guess what? The population's sometimes not complying, and that's why they're having a few problems. So reinventing is constant. And they do it through all their organizations. How about the one on the lower left? How much reinvention do you think that's going to need? Thoughts? Does anybody want to go on a cruise ship right now? I don't think so. Even a Disney cruise line, I don't think so. Not really. They're wondering what it's going to be. It might be workforce housing. Yeah, interesting, right? I took this picture of this little girl that I met in LA, and then I stuck a different background on it because when I talked with her, she was going to be an artist. She goes, I don't know if I'm an artist or an architect or an engineer. I want to be one of those. I go, why? Because I want to create things, magical things that make people happy. I thought, yeah, we were all those kids at one point, right? You ask a first grader who's an artist, everybody sticks their hands up. First grade class. Ask an 8th grade class, how many are artists? A few. Ask an 18-year-old. Not so many, right? So we're losing that. There's engineers, artists, and architects everywhere, and we all can be that of our future, right? We got to build belief in the power of these ideas. If they're going to work, if we're going to build executable strategies to pivot, there has to be belief in it. Can't just be directed. Can't just say, hey, you know what? Put on your mask. Go serve those people. Be happy about the fact you have less income. Luckily, you have something to do. Can't do that. We have to go, we're going to convert our restaurant into this magical new place. We're going to interact with customers differently. We're going to deliver food differently. We're going to create a whole new business, and you're going to be part of it. And what ideas do you have? And how can we execute those together? Right? You see, it's a very different approach. I had the ability to work with a young gentleman, well, not really work with him, I guess meet him and collaborate a little bit with him. A gentleman named Jason Silva. Do you guys know him? You heard of this guy? He considers himself a performance philosopher. He is a genius. He can remember every book he's ever read verbatim. Every movie, every song, lyric, he remembered an email I sent him 6 years before I met him, verbatim. He's masterful. But if you give him a topic, he will rant for two minutes or so. And then they'll put a video to it. And this is one about the power of ideas. Carolyn, Yeah, you know Jason. Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. I wanted to show this to you. It's about the power of ideas, and let's talk about a couple things he says in the video.
One of the most interesting phenomenons of human beings is our creativity, right? I mean, our ability to transform the world, our ability to imagine new possibilities, our ability to probe the perimeters of possibility, remix the present, to see into the adjacent possible, which Stephen Johnson refers to as a shadow future that hovers over the present state of things, a map of all the ways in which the present can reinvent itself. Creativity is just connecting things, as Steve Jobs says. And people who go into this creative zone, virtuosos of the imagination, those ecstatic technicians of the sacred spaces of human virtuosity, athletes when they get in the zone, scientists when they have their eureka moments, musicians, artists when they enter these flow states, jazz musicians when they're improvising, Charlie Mingus as he rhapsodizes through a tumbling thicket of ideas with such a sharp and vital alacrity that it can take the breath away. These flow states are finally starting to be understood thanks to neuroscience. The part of the brain responsible for self-editing literally goes dim. So there is a kind of scrambling of the self. There is a scrambling of like the superego that's trying to like correct everything you do and censor and filter what is otherwise collective subconscious, active imagination, so to speak. And I think that these artists, these athletes, when they go into the flow state, you know, I'm sure that they've had their 10,000 hours of practice in whatever their skill is, but then they go into that flow state. Perfection is not just about control, it's also about letting go. They shut down their lateral prefrontal cortex and they enter the realm of the numinous, the realm of the imaginal, the realm where the dream becomes real. You know, that space, that headspace of flow is the place where dreams are born.
That guy's amazing. He can do that on any topic. You can toss him. At the conference I was at, it was called the Curiosity Retreat. The audience, I was part of the audience, we would throw ideas out, and he would do that very thing to any idea we could pitch. It was unbelievable. But he's a big fan of the spiral thinking technique you're going to learn today. Big fan of it, and because he believes the same thing about that, of seeing the future differently and pulling the present to the new reality. And that's what you're going to learn to do. But what'd you think? Here's some of the ideas I took from it. Did you take any other ideas from it? I think, I love the idea of probing the adjacent possible, raising our minds out of our cognitive Kansas. Think of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, right? What's our cognitive Kansas? Where are we stuck, right? Getting our minds out of there, right? Creating a re-enchanted world that we all believe in that enlivens our imagination. That's what we're looking for. Let's don't just pivot and incrementally improve. Let's do something fantastic. I love it. Yeah, practice and let go to do your own thing. Katie says, love that. Reb says, our cognitive Kansas, there's no place like home. Exactly, right? And guess where we are, right? We're at home a whole lot right now. Definitely. So anyway, thinking exercise, quickly one for you guys. I want you to look at these 5 statements in blue and orange there. And I want you to think about how many of these elements your organization is really good at. Now, how much of that? Time set aside to do this on a regular basis. Celebrating successes and celebrating failures. Everybody knows who they are, why they exist, and who they dream of being in the whole place. Right? There's a process for innovation, and everybody participates. And ideas come from everywhere. Thoughts? What do you think? It's a fairly tall order, unless you've built a culture of creativity, where this becomes a normal way of doing things. Right? But this should probably be the goal. Laura says our company could use some improvement in these areas. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Do you have an ongoing process, Laura, that you use on a regular basis?
probably easier. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, probably easier just to use my mic. I think we do have some processes that are ongoing, but when new ideas are suggested, they're not taken very well. We have a lot of creativity on our team, but it's difficult because the ideas don't want to be heard. So it's a little discouraging. So I do like what you have to say. I think we could do better at implementing this in our company.
Yeah, selling the ideas into a culture where it's not part of the DNA is always harder, but don't stop. Don't stop doing it. Pretty soon you'll hit on one, they'll go, oh man, yeah, okay, tell me about that. And maybe we should do it. I don't know. If not, and it goes on, and you're not happy as a creative person doing that, my suggestion to you, sorry to say, is go work with one of those organizations where this is what it's all about, or maybe go create your own really cool new creative thing and get to live that every day. I think that's something. Don't be afraid of that. You can do it. If just some goofy kid from Fort Collins can do a bunch of wacky careers, oftentimes with very little experience, just by dreaming it up in a different way, then I guarantee you anybody can do this. If I can, anybody can. I'm not that special. Believe me. Julie says, what we are missing is the reflection of why something worked or why it didn't. So we just keep moving on. Do you want to add to that, Julie? Do you have your little mic button? You're over here on my wall. There you are, Julie.
Hello, everybody. I think what happens is in fast-moving industries is when something works great, we accept it and move forward. And even celebrating the win sometimes doesn't happen. But taking that look at why was something successful? Was it the planning? Was it the team? I think we even fail to examine success sometimes.
Very good. Very good. I think that's true. People tend to talk about ROI like it's an investment metric. And I like to think of it a return on innovation, or an ROE, a return on experience. How has the experience that we've crafted created raving fans, loyal customers, happier staff, whatever? Not everything is a metric of dollars and shouldn't be a metric of dollars. Really, really great companies thrive because they do really right things really, really well, and the money follows that. Companies in the experience economy, for example, right now, are flourishing. Companies who aren't are failing. I guarantee you which restaurants are going to go down in my town are the ones who provide a lousy experience for their guests before the COVID happened. Nobody's going to want to go back to their restaurant, so it's going to go away, right? Good, really good points, everybody. So let's get a little more into this spiral thinking idea and why it's so effective. Why is it that this one thinking technique can help you get unstuck from the current circumstance and get into a new way of doing things? So we're going to do that. We're going to dive into that a little bit more. When I was in engineering school, we studied, here at CSU, we studied Einstein all the time. We had to learn about him. But the fascinating, and all his inventions and things, and laws of physics and things. But the thing I really thought was fascinating is he had a belief that knowledge and imagination were linked. And that imagination actually was more important than knowledge, and that imagination encircled the world. And when they would ask him about how he came up with these things, he goes, I thought about them a lot. He thought about them a lot. My favorite mentor at Disney, he's unfortunately passed away now, but I got to work with him for 14 years. He was a coach to me on thinking better. Spent 85% of his day thinking only. Thinking only. He would sit in his office, oftentimes with his feet up on the desk, looking out the window. And maybe he'd have a pad of paper, and it was kind of before laptops were really big. He'd have a pad of paper, and he'd have a phone. And he'd spend 85% of his time gazing out the window and thinking. Everybody would go, what does this guy do? Every time you walk by, his feet are on the desk. And then there'd be a magical moment of something he thought about, and he would pick up the phone and he would call and he'd go, Ed, you need to talk to the creative producer of this show, so XYZ show. Well, what about? Well, you'll figure it out when you talk. Click. Right? It was just a few moments doing, 85% thinking. We don't think enough. We need a lot more thinking and a lot less doing. It's easy to have it go the other way around. Because if we change the way we see things, the things we see will change. COVID, I thought this was perfect for COVID world we're living in, right? The sea of black umbrellas everywhere. A dark world, everything's awful, can't do anything. But then there's a few people poking up a rainbow-colored umbrella going, you know what? I see something else. I see a whole different future. It's a fantastic time if you build backyard swimming pools. They've never built more. It's a fantastic time if you do home gardening supplies. There's people planting gardens everywhere. It's a fantastic time. It's going to be a fantastic time for entertainment pretty soon. We're not quite there. But when it bounces back, it's going to go twice as big as it was before. Those who can make it will survive. So we've got to change the way we see. So when you guys look in the mirror, if your organization were to look in the mirror, what would you see? Are you the silly little kitten, right? This is kind of a silly picture, but makes the point, I think, right? What do you see when you look in the mirror? What do you see? What do you see for yourself and your organization? That's a really good test, right? Thinking's important because we need to become idea farmers. Most of our cultures in business have been built out of the industrial age and the technology age. Most of us. I think it's time to be agrarian. We should be harvesting and nurturing the best ideas from everywhere in the organization in order to be successful. Can't just keep making the same things over and over. I know I'm probably making it sound easy. It's not always easy. There's barriers, right? There's barriers, there's challenges. You got to overcome them, and we'll show you where that fits in. What's going to happen to this guy? This is like a lot of companies right now. They walked out on the tightrope, they went halfway across, and they stopped. Anybody know? What's that going to happen to him? Thoughts? He's going to fall. Yeah, I did a little bit of work with Cirque du Soleil, and I can tell you that even the best tightrope walker can't stand still. They have to keep going. Have to keep going forward. You can guess you could go backwards. There are a few companies doing that, but you can't stand there, right? Who has mental exhaustion during this time? Anybody? I do. Anybody else? Yeah, I see some hands on the videos. Ed, Julie. Yeah, I see some. Yep. Colby, am I saying your name right? Colby? Yeah, I do. I have mental exhaustion. Nikki says she has it. Yeah, I agree, right? How do you get over that? Having something to look forward to is what works for me. Seeing a future that is exciting, that has purpose and meaning. I think people are begging for purpose and meaning. I think we're stressed out. I think we're exhausted. Jody says stress exhaustion. I agree. You wake up, I would sometimes wake up, I think about so many things. I sometimes wake up in the morning early, and I feel like I just woke up and I had a good night's sleep, what should have been for enough hours or whatever, and I'm already stressed. It's like, what the heck is wrong with me? You know, and it's like this constant barrage of crazy things, and I'm talking with all my clients, and they're throwing crazy things on me. And, you know, especially my healthcare clients right now, they're in absolute panic mode. Right? So I get it, right? But we need something powerful to believe in to get by. And we need to find ways to build really cool futures so we're not juggling problems. There's too many problems. We got to get past that. That's why my Disney mentor thought all the time. He goes, if I think of the right path for all of you who are running around doing stuff, I can avoid all those old mistakes you're going to make. or those problems that you're going to have, the interaction, the miscommunications, and we can do some things. Nikki says setting small personal goals. I agree with that too. Having something, right? Having something to look forward to. Organizations are afraid. They're afraid if they take a new path, do something new, and they turn down a corner and they run into a wall or get trapped into something they don't like, that they'll be afraid to go, right? It's easy to feel like that, but that is the wrong answer. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to get stuck on the tightrope if we're afraid. So we got to get out of that. We need a leap of belief. Now we're back to spiral thinking again, because what spiral thinking does, allows you to see the future differently and then build a path to get from there to there. Something worth believing in. Not a leap of faith, not hoping we make it across whatever crisis is here, but a belief knowing we can. We know we can make it. We know we can. Molly, you have your hand up. Did you have a question? Oh, hand went away. Maybe it was earlier. Okay, thanks, Molly. I want to feel like she does when I get up. And I don't always do that, but I want to feel like that, right? I want to be so excited about the future and where I'm going that I can't wait to go. And so the spiral thinking path that we're going to do after break here is going to allow you to envision it differently, build a path to execute, and then experience the results. You know, and you'll be able to do this. Anyone can do it, guarantee you, right? Do you guys watch trends? Do you watch them from outside your industry or mostly inside your industry? I used to mostly watch inside my industry, and now I'm kind of gone the other way. And I'm having a lot of fun doing trends outside the industry. Before COVID, I was looking at these kinds of things. My favorite trend is Happynomics. It's my absolute favorite one I love. Things that make people happy are crisis proof to a certain degree. And think about that, right? If you're happy having a glass of red wine, guess what? Liquor sales are up, right? If that makes you happy, it kind of makes me happy. I got to tell you, it kind of makes me happy to have a nice glass of red wine at night, right? That's up, right? Disney theme parks might be closed, but Disney Plus streaming service is having the biggest time it's ever had, right? It's booming, right? Happynomics is a big thing. So I look at those kinds of things, right? But what are you guys looking at? What trends are you watching, right? It just might be a homework exercise just to think about, what could I be watching that's outside of my normal way of thinking? And the story I told you about the princess and Elsa and the technology to allow Elsa to know the little girl's name, that technology doesn't come from the Walt Disney Company. That comes from them understanding that there are RFID chips in the world, and you could make a magic band, and you could know the person's name and their favorite character is, and their favorite movie, and their favorite food and drinks, and all kinds of things on a magic band. And when they just get close enough to be near to someone, I can learn about them. You know, that's pretty powerful, right? So looking outside your industry is something really interesting. I was thinking about COVID. I'm thinking about, wow, look at all the disruptions, right? Certainly the economy's taken a big old whack, hasn't it? New work environments. Are a lot of you working at home or at the office? How many, I wonder? Home? How many homes, if you're on video? We got a lot of people at home. Me, I'm at home. Yep. Office, some of you guys are at the office. It's mixed. A lot of home folks, few office folks. Essential healthcare workers. Julie, yeah, get it. Totally get it. Just starting to go back, right? Remote working is probably not going away. A lot of people kind of liking it. Productivity is actually really good. Doesn't work for every industry, but it might work for some. E-commerce, that's changed. If you're in the e-commerce business, you're doing really well right now. Manufacturing's certainly been disrupted. Supply chains are all upside down if you're in that kind of business. Gig workers and outsourcing. A A lot more people might be free agents, right? It's not a bad thing to do that. When all the teams come back to the workplace, they're going to have to get re-engaged. Be an excellent time to remind them what the dream is. If we hadn't, and where we're trying to go, right? If you're interested in that, there's engagement tools on the Mindshare site you can use for that. There's actually happiness tools on there too. So there's a lot of things going on. There's going to be a lot of entrepreneurism. Sorry, that's kind of hard to see. A lot of entrepreneurism going on. A lot of people thinking of new things to do. Retail, wow, I'd hate to be them right now. Some kinds of retail. Unless you're selling groceries or, a few things. Theirs are doing really well. I'd hate to be selling high-end handbags and shoes right now. That's not particularly great. High-priced artwork. There's another whole challenge facing us too, all around our social systems, right? You see it all over. I've noticed lots of work being done here at Colorado State University around the idea of understanding inclusion and opportunity and equity and all those kinds of things. So this is all other things, very real things we should be looking at and taking a hard look in the mirror and go, am I doing all I can to be as good at this as I can be? I'd say I know I'm working on some things myself. This is something to think about. How about climate change? We kind of quit talking about that for a while. But it's still happening. We got a couple little benefits, actually, from nobody driving. It got a little bit better for a short time. But a lot of things are coming, right? So I can think about all those. Almost ready for a break here. I guess what I'm really saying is we all need to become farseers. If we really want to do this differently, we should become the dreamers, visionaries, and luminaries to get things to happen. So Laura, I'm with you. Get your company to figure out you're their farseer. Change your title. Become vice president of farseeing or something. Then maybe you can get it. You can get them to believe. I love having crazy titles, by the way. In my little organization, we have weird ones. I studied engineering and marketing and music, but they call me the dream engineer. Right? We have innovation pilots. We have all kinds of different people because of the things they love and the thing they like to do. And so it's fun to make up your own kinds of things. One of my favorite positions we invented one time was for an engineering consulting firm. We created the position of director of happiness. And she literally her job was curating happiness for all our clients and all our staff all day. Anything you can think of that makes people happy, that's your job. We gave her a small budget, and it changed everything. Business went up 300% after we hired her. Okay? That sounds crazy. We hired a curator of happiness, and our business went up 300%. Our productivity went way up, too. She was doing amazing things for the engineering teams. It was fantastic, right? Change the way you see things you see change, right? Idea, innovation everywhere. This is actually a word map that came from a study of 20,000 CEOs around the world. And they said, what are the most important things for the future? This is pre-COVID. But I think it still fits. And the things that are big are the items that got the most responses. So what are they saying? Innovation, creativity, ideas, creative, teamwork, vision, market, right? Planning. All that's baked into what you're about to learn in the spiraling, right? The new world, new thinking models. What are people doing now? A lot of people have their head in the cloud or they're lost in a fog. I don't know if those are the same thing or two different things. I've had people accuse me of having the head in the clouds a few times. I hope that after they get to know me and see what's possible, they decide differently. But a lot of people are running around foggy, I think, and so they're not doing much thinking at all, right? This is the most used thinking model. Incremental steps, right? We know the status quo of where we are. We all said we're pretty good at that. This gentleman absolutely knows where his status quo is. His right foot is firmly planted on the first step. He has no concern about where he is because he's not even looking at the step, right? He doesn't have to because he's been here so many times. He knows what that step is, right? He thinks he knows where the second step is. He's about to put his left foot down on the next step. He is maybe designing one step past that, maybe two. Might have a slight vision of where he's going. You know, I love Apple company. I've used their stuff since the first day. But I got to tell you, from my perspective, this is just Ed. My iPhone, I have iPhone 10. Okay? So when I had the very first iPhone, it was like transformational thing for me. It was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable, right? And then 2 and 3 and 4 were all cool, and there was some pretty big leaps, and then we weren't even using phones to make phone calls anymore, hardly. They were a whole different thing, and then we got along. When they got to 10 for me, I bought it for the camera, and my old phone was getting bad. How many versions are we going to do? 11 is here. Is there going to be 12 and 13 and 14? Because I hope not. It's time for something else. Give us something better, Apple. I'm tired of you just giving me a different camera and blah, blah, blah. Do something new. I'm ready for the next thing. I've seen it in your lab. Bring it out. Right? It's time for transformation. I think incremental approach works incredibly well if you are in a situation where you love what you're doing. It's going really well. Everybody loves it. Life couldn't be better. What's the next step for us? I think it's fine. If you're not in that situation, I don't think this is the way to go. And in fact, when we've studied inventors and creators from all industries, there has never been a time we could find when anyone made a transformational leap to something really different by incrementally improving along the way. We didn't get to a light bulb by making better and better candles. Never happened. It's never happened in history that I can find. So it's a fine thing to do if you love it. So for a while, iPhone 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of worked for me. But now it's like, I don't think so. I didn't buy 11. I don't think I want to buy another one until something new comes. Brainstorming. I want to make sure we discern the difference between brainstorming and what you're going to do with spiral thinking, because brainstorming to me is stressful. People go, well, we'd like to hire you to come do a brainstorming session. I go, we don't do those. Well, I thought you were the crazy idea guys. Oh, we don't do brainstorming. That to me, brainstorming is throwing everything at the wall and see if anything sticks. It's not intentional, has no real authenticity or genuineness to who we are and who we dream of being. It's not connected, whereas spiral thinking totally is. So we're going to learn to do that after break. Okay? Spiral thinking will allow us to articulate our dream and spiral up our circumstance. And it's going to be so easy before we close today. And thanks for sticking with me through this teaching part of this before we do the doing part in the next part. It's so instrumental to how it changes the way you think. If you can apply this, I think you're going to love it. You're going to see big changes that you can make. Okay? It's going to be very different. So we're going to do this right after break here. One last thing to kind of give you a little more confidence that it's worth it doing this is spiral thinking is the world's only whole brain thinking tool. So we developed this by learning about all kinds of creative people over the last 20 years, my brother and I. And we didn't know that we were doing the neuroscience this way until after we had created it, and it was working for so many people. We're like, why is this working so well? And we literally did a study on it with UCLA Neuroscience Department out in California. And our top neuroscientists on creativity took our brain model and did the testing with people and say, what's going on when people are spiral thinking? And what they found is all aspects of your brain were working together in spiral thinking. And for the first few steps of spiral thinking, of which there's only a few, so it's real easy, In those first few steps, the brain is flooded with positive chemicals and hormones that don't allow the negativity to creep in, that don't let you get stuck, that don't let you second guess your ability to get there, right? So it's whole brain thinking. And I think that makes it very different, right? Make sense? Any questions on that part? Nope, good. Last thing to think about, we don't have to talk about this right now, but does your organization have a formal thinking process? Is there a model? Is there a vernacular? Do you say we use this certain technique and we do it all the time? And who's responsible for innovation and creativity? Is there a team? Is it everybody? Is it just a few? Does it just happen by accident? Any thoughts before we go? Most organizations do not have a formal process. There was another big study done with CEOs. 90% said this was the most important thing they needed, was creativity and innovation. And 90% also said we have no process to do it. We have no process. So we could build this into organizations. I think we can do really well. Jody says we tend to think only some folks on the team can be, I don't get that word, creative. We tend to think that only some folks on the team can be creative. That's kind of a normal way that a lot of organizations think, Jody. I got to tell you. It's amazing when you think about it differently. I got to tell you one quick story, and then we'll jump away. I was working with Disney as a consultant on trying to think. We had an idea to create a new parade, right? They needed a new parade for one of the theme parks. So they would bring like 12 of Disney's most senior creative people in and 2 outsiders, and I was one of the outsiders they would bring in. And we'd spend 3 days reinventing parades, and we would use this thinking technique, much like spiral thinking. They didn't know they had one, but I analyzed it to figure out it really was kind of spiral thinking. And we would create ideas for this parade, and we had about 2,000 ideas on the wall for new parade ideas. And we were having trouble sorting and filtering to the one idea we wanted to use. And we were having this discussion, and everybody was throwing out creativity ideas, to your point, Jody. And one of the women on the team had brought her little girl with her that day to our session. I don't remember why she had to come that day, but she was just in the back playing with Disney toys and coloring and having fun, and she stuck her little hand up. And her name was Marianne. I seem to use that name a lot, sorry. Her name was Marianne, and she had her hand up, and the leader of the team said, Marianne, do you have a question, or can I help you with something? And, and she goes, well, I was just noticing that you're having trouble with ideas. And we were all like, yes, we are. We're having a lot of trouble with ideas. Why, do you have an idea? And she was like maybe 8 years old or so, and she's in the back. She goes, well, not really. I don't know that I have a really good idea, but I was listening to everything you're saying, and I was wondering, why does the parade have to be on the ground? We're like, what? Why does the parade have to be on the ground? We're like, dead silence, just like this. And it's like, we ran up and just tore down everything we had on the walls and threw up all new papers and started making a sky parade that we crafted. And we did it. And it was balloons and things up in the sky. And it was a nighttime parade of illuminated things. It could be everywhere. It didn't have to just go down the parade route. And we created this thing, and it was unbelievable. And she was 8, right? It's like, wow, maybe she should be on the team. The best ideas come from sometimes unlikely places. And so, Jody, I would say get as many people on the team as you can, because you don't know where the best ideas come from. And the best ideas should win. They should win. You should not have to take it from the top down. I try to get as diverse a team as I can get when we're doing projects. And we're going to do one here right after break, okay? So we're here. Any last questions before we take a little mini break? And when we come back, I'm going to put you to the test. We're going to learn to spiral think right off the bat, and you're going to help me invent a place. and we're going to do it together. So I'm going to need all your participation and ideas and help, and we're going to throw them all up on the big board, and off we're going to go, and we're going to design something. I'll give you a little teaser. We're going to design a theme park in Colorado when we come back. And it's going to be really fun, and you're going to be shocked how far we can get in just a few minutes by doing this. And then one other little teaser. We're actually working on this project, and let's see what ideas you craft compared to the ideas my team crafted, and I'll bet we're going to overlap a whole lot. I bet you're going to have a lot of the same ideas we did, and I'll show you kind of what's evolving from it. And then you'll get your toolkits to be able to put to use on your own challenges, and we'll go from there. Sound good? It'll be fun. So come back with a lot of energy, and we'll design our theme park together, okay? Everybody's starting to come back. It's great. It's fantastic. Fantastic. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate that very much. Very much. We're going to, one or two last little things, and we dive in, okay? So what we're going to get from spiral thinking, a couple little points that are important. One thing that results from this thinking process is everyone gets on the bus. Everybody gets aligned. You can execute with alignment and active engagement, because if you include everyone, back to Jody's point, lots of people in the creative process, everyone knows how you're getting to this future vision and what the plan is, and they know how to bring their talents and their ideas and their passions to the team so that the dream gets multiplied over and over again by each new idea. So this will allow you to get everyone on the bus. And guess what? If they don't want to get on the bus and you're in a position of, I don't know what the right position would be. If it's up to you to decide if they should still be in this organization, you might have that conversation with them. Because the really great organizations usually have about a 30-day rule. So about give you about 30 days to totally get on board with a brand new vision. If you can't get on board, they might help you a little bit, and if not, then they try to help you find a new career, which I'm all in favor of. I'm all in favor of that. Let them go somewhere else where they can be much happier other than your organization. Another thing it will allow you to do is build creative teams that become expert at working together and solving problems and using their strengths to overcome crazy obstacles and build bridges. Invariably, even if you have an unbelievable idea and a great plan, you'll get 3/4 into it somewhere and there's some new challenge that pops up. Could be money, could be time, people, who knows? A new competitor, who knows what it might be. You need teams ready to tackle it and do this process again in their own way and build a new bridge. So that's another thing that results from this. So everybody gets on the bus and you get really good creative teams that can solve their own problems. The other thing is you get leadership from every chair from this. Everyone can start to understand, because there's a really great collective vision for where you're headed, they'll also know what their sphere of influence is. What can they control? Right? I'll give you the music analogy that's on the screen. When I'm a trumpet player. When I was the guy in the back there playing with some conductor, maybe it was a movie soundtrack or maybe it was a performance somewhere. As the lead trumpet player in the orchestra, I had to know what we were trying to do with this music. What's the big vision for the music? I had to know how to follow that conductor really well when the conductor was trying to have us go in a certain tempo or raise our volume or whatever. But I also had to know what my sphere of influence was. As the lead trumpet player, all the other horn players and brass were supposed to listen to me for guidance. How am I phrasing? What volume am I using? How am I attacking this music? What am I doing in this music to make it musical? They were supposed to follow my style, not the conductor's, mine. So sometimes I'm following the conductor, sometimes I'm influencing a sphere of people, and sometimes I might have a solo and I'm now the leader and the conductor is supposed to follow me. So when you get good at spiraling, you get to understand that me as a person on the team, There'll be times when I'm contributing to the collective vision. There'll be times when I'm influencing, as Barbie said and Laura said, I'm influencing the team. And there's times when I'm leading and other times when I'm following. That's what you want in an organization. People who feel like they're good at all of these things. Unfortunately, too many organizations have things like job descriptions. And they put your job in a little box and they say, your job is to execute these things. And people feel stuck. They feel stuck in that box, right? So we need to get them out of there, right? And so leading from every chair. If you really want to take the analogy further, as a jazz player, which I was, it's even more so, right? Because I don't even have any music. I come in and I was playing with Aretha Franklin and we were at a gig and Aretha just called up a tune. We had no idea we were going to play that. And it's like, I'm expected to know that, have the collective vision to know the song. I'm expected to have enough musical ability to hear what key she was going to do it in, because she certainly didn't tell us what it was going to be. And then at times I have to follow her. So when I'm playing behind her, I'm not stepping on her artistry. I'm supporting it. And at other times she'd point at me and now I'm a soloist, right? So creative improvisation, being able to improvise at the time, is going to be really key to pivoting and to helping people get past that, right? It's not always everything perfectly planned out, right? Fast Company says we need these people. And, Daniel Pink in his book, A Whole New Mind, talked about why these people are so important and why we need these kind of thinkers. So, inner genius in everyone. I'm going to keep saying this. There's inner genius in everyone. Everybody's a genius in some way. So we got to just find that, right? Building better boxes. Reimagining our services and our products. I'm going fast now because I want to get started doing this together. When you think about your products, think of them in different ways. Are we a commodity or are we an experience? If you're a commodity, there's only one way to make that work, you're the cheapest or the most convenient. Right? That's work for I guess that works for Walmart, for example. It's cheap and I guess convenient. I prefer businesses that are creating experiences, that engage their customers and build raving fans. Create a love mark. When someone talks about your company, they go, I love those people. I love that company. I love working with her. I love working with him. All right, that's what we're after. Okay, let's learn to do it. We're going to reimagine our cultures. We can do all kinds of things. So in these COVID times, we're all facing different kinds of barriers, and we can use this thinking, which really just is super easy to overcome these obstacles, overcome our fears, experience the dream. Walt Disney, I never got to meet him. I'm not quite that old. I'm old, but I'm not quite that old. But he used to always say, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. I don't know if it's well known, but when he created the vision for Disneyland in the 50s, he had this idea for creating the happiest place on earth. This place where people could come and experience a wonderful life. Frankly, he didn't have a very nice childhood. He wasn't allowed to play as a child. Everything was imagined in his mind because he worked delivering newspapers from the time he could walk. He never got to play. He or his brother. So he wanted to create, when he became an adult, the happiest place on earth. Do you know how many times he was rejected for that idea? He went out to sell it, to raise the money for the theme park. He got turned down 502 times. 502. Now that's believing in the dream, right? He's like, people kept going, no one's going to come to this theme park thing. We already have Coney Island and traveling carnivals and the Barnum and Bailey Circus. Who wants to go to a theme park? Nobody. He's like, if I build the happiest place on earth, they will come. Right? So, certainly played out. And the one bank that finally said yes, I don't think I'm allowed to say their name. They were a one little office, little tiny storefront, and now they're worldwide. Right? They were the only one who believed in it. Right? Okay, let's spiral. Here's how it works. And this will be all in your stuff, so don't worry. It'll be in your toolkit too, so don't have to take notes. There's 5 steps of spiraling, right? Number 1 is actually step 5. See the future in a whole new way. Imagine it as if it's real in your mind. See it, experience it, and go, oh my gosh, if we could do that, that would be amazing. If we could go there, I would be so excited. Then we move over to step 1 and we do a dream step. Remember I said dream's not a 4-letter word, right? And in dream, we're going to discover every idea we can imagine, even the craziest ones that point us in the direction of 5. Even if we're not sure we could ever do it, could do it, can't do it, no hows and whats, just every idea we can imagine, even the crazy ones. They go on the board, as many as we can think of till we're out of them. Like I said, when we were doing parades, we do 2,000-3,000 ideas. When I was doing the theme park that you're about to work on yourselves, I did about 4,000 ideas for that before I picked, okay? So we're going to do as many as we can in our limited time, and you guys are going to shout them out, and we're going to create them. And we're going to do this, and it's going to be fun. In Ideate, then, we're going to sort and filter the big giant list and go based on our personal platform, who we are as an organization and who we dream of being. We're going to pick the ideas that resonate the most with us, that are the most authentic and genuine, and also take us the furthest toward 5. And we're going to move those forward. We're going to go, we love these ideas, just like we love this sky parade I was telling you about. A parade in the sky went, oh my gosh, yes, let's do a parade in the sky. That would be so cool, right? And then we're going to take that into design and go, okay, what would that look like if we did the parade in the sky? In design, we're going to build strategy and a plan of how we would do it. What barriers would we have? What obstacles might we have if we were going to do this? And how do we get around those? What can we do? Do we need partners or resources or extra people? That's what we're going to do in design. If we get that far today, we might not, but we'll at least talk about it, and you'll have it in your kit. And then we can take that amazing plan and strategy and implement it. Now, everyone will understand, because they were part of it, why it matters and why it works and how we pick those ideas. And they're going to go, oh my gosh, this is so great. I totally see this. And I know how I can help. And you know what? I've got a couple new ideas along the way that I think our group can do in the implementation to make this even better. And before you know it, we'll be back at 5. We will have experienced the dream, and it will have happened. I've watched this happen thousands of times, and also for thousands and thousands of people, including little kids even, right? We taught this to an elementary school of little kids, K through 5. It was a failing elementary school. On a test score scale of 100, with 100 being the best, they were 36 test score as a school. The school was about to be closed. It was failing so bad. We taught spiraling to the teachers there, and they taught it to the little kids, how to think this way, and brought it to the curriculum. And by the end of that school year, they were a 92 school. Okay? We did the same thing with an inner city high school in a big city. Okay? These little kids built their own rap song on how to do spiral thinking. And they're in kindergarten, right? So this is easy enough for kindergartners and elementary schools, and hard enough, frankly, for CEOs of top 50 companies. Right? They're using it as well. The exact same model, because this is how many creative people actually naturally think. Maybe 3% of the population think this way naturally. When they have a big challenge or a big crisis they want to overcome, a future they want to see, they imagine the result of that. Oh my gosh, if we could just do this, if we could become that. We don't know the hows or exactly what it looks like yet, but if I can imagine living in that ideal future, it would look something like this. It would feel like this. I can see it in my mind. I can feel it as if it's real. Here's a million ideas in dream that I thought of that might point me there. Here's my favorite ideas from Ideate. I love these ones. Let's move those forward. Let's build a plan and design, and let's just go do it. It's really easy. Questions? Any questions? You got to have a couple. It makes sense? That makes sense? A few head shakes, a few hand waves. Does it seem hard or does it seem really easy? It's actually really easy. Imagine the future you wish to have. Dream of a million ideas that take you there. Sort and filter and ideate the very best ones that resonate authentically and genuinely with who you are and who you dream of being. Move those forward into design and orchestrate a strategy or plan or a design to make that come true. Overcome any barriers or challenges that might be along the way, and then put it into implementation. We called it spiral thinking because for a few reasons. Number one, the straight line from 1 to 5, I don't think exists. There's always challenges and new things that come. And I think you have to spiral your way and gain momentum and gain energy and build more of the team and get everybody on board before you can get there, which is why we like the idea of spiraling. Also, spirals are inherent in the universe of experiences. The whole universe works in a spiral, actually. Universes move in spirals. The simplest organisms, the very first sort of creatures on Earth, were little shelled creatures that built shells in spirals. First things that kind of were those first little creatures that lived on the planet. Roses bloom in a spiral. If they didn't, their petals would be too fragile on their own. So we think by collectively building the spiral, and physics works in spirals, right? You gain momentum as you go along, but you're always looking back. You're held back by the dream, held in place, right? Think of something orbiting around it, right? Edwards says it's how we escaped Earth's gravity and shot rockets to the moon. You are exactly right. You are exactly right. And we'll Reb has some keys to sorting and filtering, and we will get there. I promise you, Reb, we'll get there. Okay, so let's go do this. You guys, let's build a theme park. All right, we're going to create a vision for a place called the Great Colorado Experience. Doesn't matter if you've ever been to Colorado or not. Just imagine from your brain what it must be like, all the coolest things in Colorado, right? Just think about that. And if you were going to build a theme park that was going to be based in Colorado, what might that involve, right? And if this theme park captured the experiences of Colorado, the awe, the wonder, the adventure, the beauty of Colorado, and put it into one kind of new, cool experience for people of all ages, what might that be like? From little kids to old guys like me and everyone in between. If you were going to build a place, okay? And then everything has a box. We talked about how you do have some constraints. Whoops, I'm going to back up. There are some constraints to things, right? Our constraint is, it is in Colorado, and we have winter. And we have some pretty hot July too, frankly. So it's going to be indoor, okay? It's going to be an indoor theme park. And it's going to be about the size of a sports arena in size, okay? So keep that size in your head. The development is limited by that amount of space. And also our audience is limited by about that. You know, we need to draw between 500,000 to 2 million visitors to this thing per year, right? And it's got to capture the awe and wonder of Colorado, right? So in Dream, think of all the ideas we can imagine that would point us in that direction, right? All the fun things you wish you could do, right? And experience. And it doesn't have to, we don't have to know if they're work perfectly or not perfectly. We just have to think of all the ideas. What would we want to have, right? What would we want to have in a place like that? What would it look like? What would we want? Okay? So you guys, at this point, seriously, if you can shout them out, I'm going to put them on the board. Just think of it. And there are no wrong answers. This could be anything, right? And I'll try to capture ones off the top, right? So it says skiing, hiking, ski, hike, raft, fish, dog sled,
Nature.
ice climb,
Nature.
horseback. I didn't hear the vocal one, sorry.
Nature, I said.
Did you catch it?
Yeah, nature.
Nature.
Canyons, trails,
Naturing.
wildlife,
Wildlife.
canyons, trails,
Canyons.
flowers, bungee jumping,
Trails.
birds,
Bungee. Soaring.
cave exploring,
Birds. Cave.
camping, river
Exploring.
rafting, hot springs,
Camping.
wildlife, microbrewery, snowboarding, avalanche.
Micro.
Starry
Okay, just a sec. Sorry, I'm getting behind.
Yeah, hold on, people, we can't.
Microbrewery. I'm done at microbrewery. What's after that? Starry skies? History. Thunderstorms.
Hit gold mines.
Mining, gold mining.
Skydiving. Agriculture. Snow. Cliff jumping. Zip lining. Weather. Air Force.
What was that last one?
Air Force.
Air Force.
Auto racing. Mountain biking. Road biking.
Okay, I have to see if I learned to do this yet. Yeah, oh, look at that. Awesome.
Snowshoeing. Local food. Food trucks. Auto racing, did we get that?
Yep.
Red Rocks. Pikes Peak.
Okay, I have to stop for a sec. Red Rocks, my favorite place ever play music, by the way. I love that place, and everyone I ever played for loves that place. That is the coolest. My very first time I got to play there was with the band Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I was just a really young guy. I was just a high school kid at the time, and it was my first real time to ever do something crazy like that. We had wacky outfits, and there was magic, and it was so cool, and I'll never forget it. I eventually got fired from that band because white guys looked really bad in the outfits and weren't very good dancers. So I don't mean that in a bad way, but it was true. It was the 70s. And the afro and the big, yeah, anyway. Sorry, got sidetracked. Fireworks.
Fireworks, paragliding, sand dunes. Sledding, history,
Got that.
thunderstorms.
Got that.
Got microbrew. Going way back. S'mores and beer. Soaring bird. River rafting.
Yep.
Climbing a 14.
Yep. Oh, 14er.
Wildflowers.
Yep.
Union Station and Lodo. Ice fishing. Auto racing. Animals like moose, bear, and mountain lion. Art, music, and theater. Hammocking. Aspen trees.
Just a sec. Aspen, hammocking,
Baseball. Fall,
Sports, I guess, huh?
elevation. Steam training. Yeah, aspen trees in the fall. Yurts? Oh, really? That's awesome.
We getting caught up? Can we stop for just a sec? Talk about it for a sec. Is it easy to throw stuff out when there's no judging? When you can't judge, when it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, doesn't matter how crazy things you want to put up there. If you just couldn't put anything, that feels great. Does it seem easy? Edward says very much. Laura says yes. You know, I think frankly, that's one of the benefits, right? We're not worried about if we're right or wrong. We're not worried about if it's a good idea or a bad idea. We're just throwing them. Everything, top of mind. There was one person on the Disney creative team who honestly, we call them this designated spewer. Because if we had a pause of even a few seconds, he would throw out something ridiculous. He would throw out like, we'd be in the middle of something and he'd just say pink flamingo. And up on the board, we would write pink flamingo. Yeah, just like I'm going to do right now. And the reason would be, if we put it up, even though it was ridiculous, we might laugh, which also is good endorphins and good chemicals in our brain. We might laugh at him, gave him a reason to be funny, which is fine. Even in the little kid classroom, class clown gets to throw the idea out to the teacher. She has to write it on the board. She has to write it up. And all the kids laugh, and it's okay, right? And it's really fun. So when you don't have limitation, all the chemicals going through your heads right now are all positive. You don't have anything going through your brain going, oh, well, they could never do that. You could never ski in the inside of a building. You could never do this. You couldn't do that. You know, you don't think about that yet, right? It's just all the cool stuff. Imagine it all, from beer to s'mores to hang gliding to wildlife to all of it, right? It's all in there. All goes up, right? And it goes for as long as you want it to go, right? Until you're out of it, right? In the sessions we do with our clients, where we work on their problems, we usually work with them together for about 3 or 4 hours on that step of dream. And we usually end up with a pretty long list. Give you one quick example. We were working on a healthcare company in the Midwest. It's out in Missouri, right? And it's rural healthcare. And they were talking about how to reinvent healthcare in rural communities. And we were going along, and they said, the dream, the step 5, was we want to evolve our company from mostly being known as a hospital and clinics to a more healthy lifestyle kind of thing, to more of like a wellness, health or wellness facility, right? That was kind of the dream. I was kind of hoping they'd go a little further, but that's where they felt really comfortable. So we're going through our ideas, and they were going through just like this, and we were just cranking them out, all the different ideas of how we could do that, till a first week, someone who'd been on the company for 1 week. She was a brand new nurse, right? And so they brought her to the team just going, let's just get a fresh perspective. She doesn't even know us yet. And she was on the team, and at idea number 87, she said, I think we should be a life center. And we went, life center. And we put that on the board, and there was another pause, just like, why is the parade on the ground? And everyone went, life center. Wow. If we were a life center, then we'd have performances there. And the community would come. It'd be a community gathering place. We'd have life guides. We'd have life coaches for everyone. We'd have farmers market there and a thing there, and we'd have all these things, right? And kids would come, and there'd be after-school programs. And we would take care of it, and it would become a center for each of these little rural towns, and we would be the center of life for their community. And yeah, we could still do their health, but now we'd be their life guides. Okay, that sounded ridiculous, but the next 100 ideas came after 87. And they all related to that. And that's what we ended up building, right? Was a place just like that. And by the time it got done, I remember the CFO going, he hated the idea, right? He thought it was terrible. He's like, there's no funding for life guides. We can't charge the insurance company for a life guide. That's not part of it. You know, how are we going to get paid back for that? If you build a performance stage for music, how do we make money on that? If you have a healthy eating kitchen, who's going to, how's that going to work? Blah, 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 right? On and on. He goes, when this fails, Ed, I'm calling you. And you're going to take my call and answer it because I think this is a horrible idea. 8 months went by, and he called me back, and I took the call, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So the CFO calls me and goes, you remember when I told you I was going to make that call? I said, yes, sir, I do remember that. He goes, I owe you an apology. He goes, on my financial plan, we're at year 8 in 8 months. We're on our 8th year projection. We are completely full. The community is coming from everywhere. Everyone wants to be part of our health network. We've changed the name of our company from Heartland Health to Mosaic Life Care. Speaking of mosaic rooms. And we have a whole new model, and we're going to build 22 more of these places. Right? So the ideas just keep going, right? And it's fun, right? It's really fun. Jody says this is like the opposite of groupthink, which limits ideas, where the group generates ideas from ideas. Talk to me more about that, Jody.
Yeah, so many times you get in a group and it's like the interaction of the group kind of limits people's creativity, and this seems like just the opposite, like building on the strength of the group.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And I should have told you something, and I didn't. And it's really important. So I'm glad we stopped. Thank you for sharing that. When we're in the dream phase, there's no big explanation either about it. We don't have to explain hammocking or 14ers. It just goes up. We don't have to give a pitch and an explanation of why we think it's a good idea and why we've done it before or how it's worked or blah, blah, blah. We don't have to do any of that. In fact, there is none of that happening. The ideas are just put as fast as they can, just like we were doing. 2 pages full so far in like 3 minutes, right? And you just keep going. And nobody gets to judge anyone else's ideas. There is no judging. All of them go up. Pink flamingo goes on the board. Because it might make you think of something else. It just might make you think of the soaring birds idea might have come after pink flamingo. Or maybe the color pink made you think of colorful environments. Wow, somebody said that weird thing, but now I'm thinking colorful. Right? And more ideas go up. So there is no judging in dream. That's what I love about it. And Jody, you are right on with that. And everybody does it. And after a while, no one's sitting around waiting to go, I wonder what the CEO is going to say. Are they going to pitch an idea? In fact, I usually like it if I get them right away and they throw up something or not. Or sometimes I make them wait. I don't even call on them. Make them wait for a long time. And I also throw the dumb ideas out all the time, just crazy weird ones. I got to tell you one I threw out here for this. Gondolas. And by that I don't mean the Venice ones, I mean the ski ones, right? Right? So that was a weird one I threw out, and it was for the whole project that this theme park's in. We had to move people around in the project. We had a big highway in the way. I threw out gondolas. Everyone laughed at me. They were talking about normal things like bridges and buses and walkways and tunnels. Then in ID8, we went back and went, wait about this gondola thing. That's pretty ridiculous. Then we started talking, well, it would be pretty cool if you could travel over the interstate in a gondola instead of taking your car in a thing. Well, it'd be pretty cool if all the employees could travel to work on a gondola. It'd be pretty cool if you didn't need a car when you came and stayed somewhere. It'd be pretty cool if that. Do those even work? Oh, guess what? A gondola is 1/3 the cost of a bridge. A gondola system could save us $60 million. Okay, so it's, if you don't judge and you just throw them, right? What's that? Riding on the back of a dinosaur. Ooh, cool.
Spherical transporter ball.
Dinosaur riding. Spherical transporter balls.
We missed a couple others.
Yeah.
Big sunrise and sunset was part of it. Get wild Mustangs.
We could go for a while, couldn't we? We could just keep going. And the ideas get a little more interesting, like riding on the back of a dinosaur. How cool is that? Right? You could think of 10 more things, right, just from that. You'd be like, oh yeah, well, what about this? What about that? Right? So that's the beauty of it, right? Even if it's a problem you're tackling in your organization, something, what's the dream of this thing? Not what's the problem, what's the dream of our place? How do we want to live? What kind of company do we want to really be? How can we make something so compelling that everybody's just like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's go do that instead. Instead of compromising or taking one incremental step that's no fun, let's do this, right? Okay, we have limited time, so I want to step through, okay? We could do that more, right? And we could just keep going. We could do it all day and we just keep going, right? But let's just pretend, because they already did awesome things, right? So the next step would be, if we had time, it's going to be hard to do this with a group wall, but if we were live, I'd have you all get up with stickers, and we go up to the board, and I'd say, pick some number, 4. Pick the 4 ideas you think are the most exciting, the most aligned with this idea of promoting Colorado as this amazing all Colorado all the time kind of place that works for young kids to old, all ages, and can still fit inside of a building that's about the size of a sports arena, right? And I'd have you pick those things and sort and filter them. And this takes a little bit of time because you have to really think about it and go, all right, well, if I'm a little kid, what kind of guest journey would I like to have in this place? If I'm a teenager, if I'm a college student, because we have colleges all around here, right? If I'm a senior, if I'm a tourist coming from another country or from Nebraska. Is anyone from Nebraska? It's almost like another country. Isn't that what they say on the advertising? What's that new line? Jennifer, are you from there? What's that new line for advertising in Nebraska? It's really clever. It's like, I forget what it says. Do you remember it by any chance? There's like a whole tourism thing about come to Nebraska. It's different than you think, or I forget what it is, but it's really fascinating, right? Is that what it is, Paul? You say it's not for everyone? Is that it? That's awesome. Yeah, I just think it's really cool, right? But anyway, so in ideate, sort, filter, pick the very best ideas. Pick the ones that really resonate, right? That's what we would do next. In your challenge, you pick the ideas that you fall in love with, that the whole team goes, oh my gosh, we could do that. Just like what happened to the healthcare example I told you about. Everybody voted on Life Center. I mean, like it was nearly unanimous. It had like stickers everywhere. And then all these life ideas came out of it, and they were picking them. Yeah, we want life guides. We want a healthy eating kitchen. We want a high performance lab. We want a stage for music, indoor and outdoor. We want gardens for things in the community. We want to be blah, 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 right? And all those ideas popped out, and we took those ideas over to design then, and we started building them. So if we were to look back at all these ideas we created, we would sort and filter, and we would say, well, we got to have, and you guys would all vote, and we get a whole bunch of thinking about which ones would have the biggest impact. And then we'd say, okay, if we were going to take that to design, what would that look like? how would we take, I'm just going to make up an example. How do you take the idea of paragliding? Whoops, what did I do? I did something crazy. Oh, how about that? That's pretty cool. If I was going to take the idea of paragliding and I was going to put that inside the building, that was the size of a sports arena, how would I make that work? And how could we really do that? Is there a way to actually do that? Could we actually do that since we love that idea? If I was going to bring beer and food and local in, because you're going to want to have food, right, in a theme park. Hey, the idea of local in that, how would we do that? What would that be like? Right? How would we make that work? How would we make rivers happen? How would we do wildlife and nature and 14ers and inside of a building? And how could we make it work for all ages? Does that make sense?
Virtual reality.
Virtual reality. There you go. See, there you go. VR. AR. Yeah, right? So when you get into design, sometimes you think of more ideas, and it even gets more fun, right? And people keep bringing things. Oh my gosh, even in implementation. Oh my gosh, if we just did this, it'd even be better, right? It's simple. It makes sense? Any questions on spiral thinking? Expert now? Everybody? It's really easy, isn't it? It's really easy. Really easy. It's absolutely easy. Right? I'll give you another quick example. 2nd grade. I was at the school, maybe like when they still had school. I don't know, it was like a year and a half ago. 2nd grade class, the teacher comes in. She goes, we're going to teach, today we're going to teach you how to write a paragraph. All the kids are like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I don't want to do that. And then she goes, but we're going to use spiraling today. And the kids love that. And they go, okay, great. Spiraling, then that's awesome. She goes, so here's the exercise for writing today. We're going to write about being stranded on a desert island. I got stranded on a deserted island, not desert, deserted. Stranded on a deserted island. And I want to make that experience amazing. I want to think that getting stranded was the most fun I've ever had. So what would I do? What would I want to take with you? We're in dream now, kids. Think about everything you'd want to take with you if you were on an island by yourself. What would you want to take? Everybody's hands are going up, right? She's writing on the board. You know, I want to take Rick. I'd like to take my mom. I'd like to take McDonald's. I'd like to take a helicopter. I'd like to take water. I'd like to take, right? And they're going on. I'd like to take my Xbox. I'd like to take, right? Might like to take my dog, you know, Fido with me, you know, and they're writing all these things down. And there's no wrong answers. And the class clown kid throws out something really ridiculous and everybody laughs. And then the teacher doesn't put it up and the kids go like this. We're in dream, teacher. There's no judgment. So she puts this idea on the board and they all laugh. But it's okay. There's no judging. And she goes, okay, now you got to think hard. Because you can only take 3 things with you. You can't take all the ideas. And oh, by the way, if you liked someone's idea, if you like Jody's idea or Barbie's or Ed's, you can add it to your list. That's not cheating, that's collaborating. That's learning from each other. Okay, interesting. Okay, now you've got that picked. In design, I want you to tell me, why did you choose those 3 things? Think about that. Write down a sentence why you took it. And then, okay, now we're gonna write our paragraphs. They don't call it implement in grade school. They call it do. It's time to do. So in do, they do it. So the paragraphs would be like this. I was just stranded on a deserted island. First, I took my friend Ricky because I really wanted someone to play with. I didn't want to be there by myself. Then Karen mentioned we should take water, and I thought, well, that's a good idea because I might get thirsty. And then I'm going to take a helicopter because sometime I want to get off the island. Ricky and I might want to leave. So being on the island really was great. Okay, that's a 2nd grade paragraph now in that class. It used to say when they were a 36 test score school, I'm on an island, I don't like this, I want to go home. Okay, very different. Now those kids are writing a page, right? But very simple, right? Make sense? Any last question? Because I want to show you guys what resulted from thinking, because I think might be kind of fun, if that's okay with you guys. Question. Something. Glass gondola shaped like a flying dinosaur, gliding in spirals, a visit to Colorado regions, banking, dipping, and soaring. All right, Ed, you need to come to work for me on my project, Ed, because I like that thinking. I like that thinking a lot. All right. Okay. Shall we see? Interested? That's idea. Dream, design, implement. Okay, so I've been working on this with my little team. And we're actually going to build this assuming our funders decide not to be frozen. This is fascinating to me, how many ideas. Try to remember everything we kicked around, because you guys are really good. And you only spent a few minutes thinking. Only spent a few. Okay? I'm working with not only my little team, but I'm working with the ThinkWell group in Los Angeles. They have an office in LA, in Abu Dhabi, in Shanghai, and they recently purchased all the tech group of Cirque du Soleil. All right, these are the world's best theme park designers. Okay, so these are really talented, creative people. They took my team's ideas and they visualized it with me. But I don't know, you probably can't see this, but that's okay. I'll just describe this to you. There's a whole land for kids. It's all about nature and animals and wildlife and things. And I'll show you that in a minute. There's a gondola ride, Ed. That's kind of like you talked about. Not exactly, but I like what you're saying. There's virtual hikes and nature trails. There's environment like experience rooms like thunderstorms and ice caves. There's night forests and a rain room. There's climbing in unique ways and rope courses. There's a Cave of the Winds. There's a brew house featuring all the local beers and distillery from the region and local food. There's a coaster that's a hang gliding roller coaster kind of a ride that you'll see. There's VR sports facilities and AR. There's an extreme theater, a 5D theater where you do the extremes of Colorado and a few more things. Those kind of popped out of our drawing to take advantage of our mountains and the 14er idea and all of that. For all of you who've been to DIA Airport in Denver, you may have seen the big white peak mountains that are there that are made out of a poly kind of a thing. They're big white glowing mountain forms. We're doing that. So the Great Colorado Experience, and it's kind of hard to draw this as a picture, is 150 foot, so you can imagine a 17-story building height, white mountain made out of fabric and epoxy. The outside of the mountain on all 360 is projected with 8K digital video. It's better than your home theater. Okay, at scale, at a 17-story mountain height, the biggest installation except for Sydney, Australia, where we did the Opera House in Sydney. This is the biggest one, and that's just an event that happens. This will be every night. Every night there's a show on the outside of the Great Colorado Experience. Literally, that features the wonder, the beauty, the majesty, or even a current event that's going on in the complex next door. But it literally has this incredible, it can be a mountain peak, it can be the world's largest Christmas tree and the holiday with animated ornaments and little creatures that come out, and it's music and it's lighting. There's concerts that will play on the plaza outside, and there's flowing rivers and nature. But during the concert, we'll have artists literally paint the mountain live and do artistic representations of it. So very cool. So some of those same ideas you guys had about art and nature and majesty and 14ers kind of popped up. As you walk inside of it, There's a mountain on the inside as one on the outside. Again, to put this in scale, the height of that is about 80 feet. It has multiple waterfalls. It has real rivers. It has real trees. We're gonna cheat the way Disney does on scenic, so big trees on the bottom, little trees on top. That makes it seem taller even so. It's gonna have climbing walls. It's gonna have guides down here where you can come and take a real adventure to Colorado. If you fall in love with something you experience in the theme park, you can come here and go, we'd like to really go rafting. We want to go for real, and we'd have rafting guides come set up your excursion. Right? We really want to go skiing. We really want to go do a cave exploration. Right? You can see there's other things. You can see one of the hang glider. This is a cloud coaster, is what we're calling it. And it'll literally travel through the building. It'll rise up to the top of the mountain and travel all down through using a gravity feed, but in a really cool way. So the mountain itself becomes an iconic kind of thing that you can experience. There is food in a brew house, and this happens to also be the location of this next to a complex where they're going to build 3 more sheets of ice, a new ice sports arena for a hockey team here in Colorado called the Colorado Eagles, which is like the feeder to the Colorado Avalanche. So there's a youth sports complex with a natatorium swimming facility. So there'll be all these kids coming from sports teams everywhere. So this is all the local food and beer broadcast in from all the surrounding facilities. Just kind of fun, kind of rustic, kind of Colorado. There is a great gondola ride, Ed. It doesn't look like a flying dinosaur, but that's a damn good idea. As you would come into this gondola ride, because we have gondolas out in the park, traveling all around. You get to the theme park in gondolas. But you'd come into the gondola and you'd sit down, and it'd be pitch black. And the music would start, and it would fog, and a cloud would form, and you'd be in a cloud. And it's pitch black, and there's some thunder and lightning in the cloud, but then you start to lift in the gondola, and you feel like you're getting up, and you're getting ready to take off. This is all simulated, by the way. Kind of like the ride Soaring at Disney that we crafted. So you get up and you start to soar, and as you travel through the cloud, you reveal that you're flying with bald eagles. Soaring birds. I think we said that. I think you guys said that somewhere, right? You're soaring with bald eagles over 14er peaks, Long's Peak and Rocky Mountain National Park, and you're soaring around the state, and you literally are traveling the state of Colorado in one of the most beautiful scenic rides you could ever imagine. Over the great sand dunes, I think that was up there too, through nature, past aspen forests, through the city, through everything. Travel back down, you come into the sports arena in the middle of a hockey game where there literally is a hockey match going on. You see a score, you come out of the arena, you fly back over, you're at the mountain of, just like you would be at a Disney castle, you fly back to the Colorado experience and you come back inside and your ride's over. This ride can change and adapt so that it's not static. And I think people are going to absolutely love it. The Soaring ride at Disney is one of the most popular rides they've ever had. And I think they're going to love it. The Little Kid Land is a meadow, a magic meadow. It has nature and animals. It has a learning center for the children on the right there, you can see, where you can learn about things, and classrooms and things can come to learn about Colorado and history and geology and the environment. It has dinosaurs to be discovered, none to ride yet, but there are dinosaurs to be discovered. You can check out a magic binocular, and you can travel with it and look and see what animals and creatures would live in any of the places you visit. So if you walk in the Beaver Lodge, you'll see a family of beavers in there. If you walk in the wetlands, you'll see birds there. You might see eagles on top of the mountains or bighorn sheep on top of that mountain. So it's a travel ride. The river itself is virtual. So back to your VR. They can't really get wet in the water because their parents are not going to like that. but you won't know that river's not real. It'll look so real you won't be able to discern that it's not real. And in fact, there'll be fish in there, Colorado cutthroat trout, and they'll react to your movements. The little kids, if you splash in, they'll scurry away, and if you stay silent, they'll come back. Right? So a magical meadow, fun things to do, hidden slides, swings, fun things like that. Inside the rock mountain itself is a immersion experience. This kind of gets back to some of your ideas. You said, wouldn't it be cool if you had experienced a thunderstorm or a cave? There's literally a cave, series of caves that you walk in, and they're literally environmental chambers. One might be like exploring a cave where it looks like you can fall thousands of feet, so you feel like you got to step on little rocks. You really don't, but it'll feel like it. There's a snow cave. There's rainstorms that happen. There's an aspen forest where you're just immersed and the leaves fall, right? And all that kind of thing. The cloud coaster guys will travel through there once in a while. It's very artsy in here. It's kind of like Meow Wolf meets the Magic Forest, if any of you guys have been to Canada, meets art. These are crystalline trees. It sparkle. The sidewalks sparkle with light like gold as you walk along. That interacts with you. There's didactic learning. So even if you're a senior, you're not super active, you love to go to the environmental rooms or hang out. All these ideas you guys had, a lot of them. Art and music and theater, all that kind of thing. You mentioned yurts. I didn't put it in my presentation. There's actually places where families could rent and stay, like little mini lodges, kind of like little yurts where you could put your stuff if you want to spend a whole day, or evening, or have your family like a touchdown place, right? It's very colorful. So anyway, quick reaction. What do you guys think? What do you think? Paulette says, isn't it called Soaring Above California? Yes, it was originally, but now it's just soaring, period, because they took the California part out, and they soar all around the world now. Cool, amazing. All of the ideas you guys mentioned in your time of spiraling, just about every one of them are in here somehow. There's even down to fireworks that'll be on the outside of the mountain at night during the show, right? And sunsets and sunrises. And I mean, honestly, you guys are right on. The people at the biggest theme park company in the world didn't do any better with ideas than you just did in a few minutes' time with barely thinking about it, right? What they're great at is executing it within the space we have, right? And within the budget, right? I had to then take this and go, does this work? If I have to take this to design now, right? And go, all right, if I build this place, what does it cost to build it? And I had to get world experts to help me with that. And we figured out what it cost. And I go, okay, how many people can I draw to this place? And I have to look at that in two ways. How many do I need to draw to make the money work? But secondarily, how many truly could I expect to draw from our region in an honest way to think about that, right? We only have so many people. We don't live in LA, right? This is northern Colorado. It's much smaller. LA Basin's 23 million. Colorado's whole population's like 6, right? And they don't all live that close. So how many can I draw? So we've done the feasibility studies in design. We've done the economic studies. We've done the happynomics. Thank you, Carolyn. And all those studies to figure out, well, how happy would you be if you came to this place? How much would you pay? How much could a family afford? How would that work out? Could it work? Long story short, it works fantastically well. Economically, it's a giant winner. It's totally pays itself off in 5.5 years. It'll be 100% paid for. It's pretty expensive to build the first time. I don't know if I should exactly say, but it's probably, I can give you a range. It's between 50 and 80 million to build in the beginning. Probably more like 80, 50. It's pretty expensive. But honestly, at under $40 tickets, I can pay for this in under 5 years. It'll draw at least 500,000 inside and at least another 1.5 million to the outside shows every night, which also helps our surrounding restaurants and hotels and all the other things, right? So a total impact of around 2 million people, unique visitors, and it all works. And you guys thought of that in a few minutes. And if we would have kept going together, this would have come up. Yes?
One of the questions that passed by was, how is this different from brainstorming?
How is this different from brainstorming? The difference is, if we would have had, well, we talked about what the ultimate dream was, right? We didn't just randomly say, let's build a theme park in Colorado. If we would have just said, let's just build a theme park in Colorado, then we would have got no disrespect, but we would have gotten Six Flags, right? That's what would have come out of it. Well, we need roller coasters, we need a thing, maybe a water ride, probably some food, probably ought to have something, right? When you put a dream in front of it and you say, this is the great Colorado experience, it's to honor the awe, the beauty, the wonder, the majesty of Colorado. It's to let people experience Colorado all the time from inside. Our dream is to make people incredibly happy and feel like, oh my gosh, Colorado is an amazing place. You know, I want to go do the real things after this, right? When you preface it with the dream and the big vision, we didn't know what all was going to go in it at first, but it made you guys all think about the wonder and the awe of Colorado and the really cool experiences and all the really fun things to do, you know, that come up here, instead of just random brainstorming. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yep. Even though no ideas off the table in our view, it's different because we all have intention of a bigger dream. And we see it in our mind, even if we see it differently. Even if someone sees a pink flamingo and somebody else sees an ice cave, that's okay, right? It's pink flamingo probably isn't going to get picked in Ideate because it doesn't relate to the dream. It doesn't have anything to do with it. I believe that's why a place like the Elitch's in Denver can't even sell tickets, hardly. You know, they keep begging people to come to the place because it's not. And a place like a Disney, which is really expensive, has 175 million people a year at $500 a piece. Because the experience of that happiness, memory, unique Disney branded cool stuff is so much different than just a thrill ride, right? Just dropping. Or, you know, the difference between a drop ride at Elitch's and the Tower of Terror is a complete different story and experience and all of that, right? So having the dream makes it very different than just a pure brainstorm. If that makes sense.
Someone else asked about investors in Colorado.
Investors in Colorado. Okay, so this is kind of like the Walt Disney story because when I crafted this idea for it, a lot of people think I was nuts, you know, to do this in the first place, you know, but then we showed them the visuals. When I just brought the idea up, it was like, no, nobody's going to do that. You're not getting any funding for that idea. I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. I think this could really be an amazing thing. They're like, okay, take it to here. Take it through Dream. Take it into Ideate. Give us a visual and design. Figure out how much it costs. Do the feasibility study. Hey, then let's talk about it some more. Right? So that's where we took it. Investors in Colorado went, oh, I don't know. This is kind of scary. Show me another one just like this. Show me where this has been done before. And we're like, this hasn't been done before. This is a first to the world idea. It's never been done before like this. And they're like, oh, I don't like that. I'd rather you showed me a model where somebody built that and then it worked within a certain number of years. So that's where the feasibility studies, the design, the price comes in. So frankly, we had to look wider than Colorado. So we started looking for international money and investors. 8 groups came from overseas, including 5 from Canada. It's interesting. Out of that, 7 said yes, they wanted to do the project. 7 out of 8 from international, and we ended up choosing our favorite because of a whole bunch of reasons. And they said, we'll design, build this, and not only that, we'll build everything in the park at the same time. We'll build the other sports arenas, the hotels, the convention center, the outdoor gondola system, the restaurants, the hotel, all of it. We'll build the whole city. We'll build it all at one time. So that's why we picked them. So if sometimes the dream, taking it to this level, then gets you the money. I had no interest in any financing till they saw the pictures. It's in a thing I call a dream book. I built a dream book, and it's captioned and connected with story and the results and the demographics and the analysis. And so we call it a dream book. And when I brought the dream book to the international folks, they went, yeah, we love it. Let's do it. We love Colorado. We love Northern Colorado. We'd like to invest here. How much do you need? Couldn't you make it bigger? I said, well, we need 800 million maybe to get going. Well, could you make it bigger? So big dreams sometimes get the funding. Sometimes at Disney, here's another maybe important little point before we wrap up. Sometimes at Disney, we would get to this stage and we would bring something like, I remember when we brought the idea for Animal Kingdom to Disney. They went, love it, love everything about it, love all the cool stuff, love the tree of life, love the rides, the live animals and the shows and Lion King and all that mixed in. Love it all. How much is it? We said probably around 7-8 billion. They said, we have 2.5 billion. Go find 6 billion. Where are you going to get that? So we can do this idea. That was the barrier, right? 6 billion was sponsored. Sponsors. All kinds of companies wanted to be part of it, right? Sometimes when you get to this point, I'm going to do the same thing with the Colorado Experience, right? Which ski areas want to be featured? Hey, you can help pay for some of that. All right, national parks, do you want to chip a little money in? How about you, City of Denver? How about you, So think about what other partners you could get, How would they get involved? That makes sense. Sometimes you have to overcome barriers even at this stage. That makes sense. Cool? Easy? You guys are spiral thinking experts now? I believe you are. You can do it. Look at what you did in a few minutes, right? Right? Any tips for solopreneurs who have to do it mostly alone? Teresa, I feel your pain. I'm pretty much that too. My brother and I pretty much do that. I bring teams in for big projects, and we do that, and we do it as a group. I've had no issues getting really creative people to do really fun projects. They love to do it, and so I try to be strategic about building teams for my own small company, because we're just 2 of us. So that we can tackle bigger projects, like we were working on the Dubai World's Fair before it all closed, right? And so we need extra people for that. So I try to find people that can support the things that I'm not as good at and that I know can be really helpful, and I bring them to the team. And I usually just ask, and almost everybody wants to do it. Once they've done it once or twice, they really want to do it, because it's really fun, actually. It's fun to do these projects. Even if it's core business stuff, it's just as fun, right? Okay, so I want to get to one thing before we wrap. You guys have a toolkit, okay, that is available to you. I believe it's available, and Adam will correct me, I think, if I say this wrong, but I believe it's available in your, what's the right words for it, Sue?
It's in the, I don't know the right word.
It's available there for you to
to download, I believe, from your
Their
interface.
mosaic.
Yeah, in the mosaic room that you're in or something. It should be there. I think Adam's posting it up for you. I wanted you to have this. It describes everything you need to know again, if you forget any of it, about spiral thinking. It's a step-by-step walkthrough. It'll take you through the ability to create the genuine part about who am I? The step one will be who am I? Who is our organization and what are we all about? What really matters to us? That'll be the personal platform stuff that I talked about. We didn't do that in our spiral exercise. I just gave you the dream. Second part will be, what's my challenge? What's the dream? What am I trying to do here? You know, what are we trying to do? How are we trying to save our business or reinvent our jobs or fix my life or whatever the case may be? That's step two. Number three is that dream future thing we talked about. Seeing it in our mind, imagine it as if it's real, all of that. And then step four is actually doing the spiraling. So your kit will literally take you through this. It'll ask you ask you about 7 different business pillars. It'll ask you to describe your problem or challenge. It'll help you to imagine and visualize a dream and ideal future. Literally just walk you through this thing, right? It'll give you the prompts, it'll give you coaching, and it's an interactive PDF, the one you'll have, so you can just pop in the box and type in your dream challenge for yourself, right? And then it'll take you through the spiral thinking process, just like we did, to step-by-step through it. I wanted you to have a toolkit because I think it's important that you tackle whatever your dream is individually. Whether that's your personal life, whether that's the company you're working in as part of, could be a health challenge, could be a happiness challenge, could be all those things, right? But it will just walk you through. I gave you the innovation tool on the Mindshare Network site, which I'll give you the address for. There's also a happiness kit. If you go to mindsharenetwork.com, you can log in and get a free happiness tool. I frankly love the happiness tool. It's just really fun, and everybody needs a little more happiness right now. So feel free to grab that and take a look. There's also on that site, you can get access to life tools, health tools, career building tools, the innovation tool, which you already will have, and also an engagement tool for companies that are bringing a lot of people back and they need to help them get engaged in the dream. Okay. Any questions for me? We love working with companies and with people who are wanting to reinvent themselves. So if you need to reach me, I'm at spiralexperiences.com. You can find me there, at any time. It has been really fun for me. Hopefully it's been fun for you. Thanks for hanging in there, so many of you, and for the really, really great ideas. Let's see, mindsharenetwork.com. Yep, that's right. Yep. People are saying they're not seeing the toolkit.
I think they have to minimize where they are and it'll be behind there.
You might have to minimize where you are and it might be behind there, is what I was told. So try that, Julie. Hopefully that's there. Any last questions? Really, we got a couple minutes left. Feel free. Anything's fair game. If you liked it, hated it, think it'll help you, don't. Yeah. Want to go do it? Want to recreate your life? Want to have fun? Any thoughts? Questions? Quiet group. Julie says, am I hiring? Well, you never know. You never know about that. You never know about that. I'd love to chat. Seriously. I love collaborating. So people never know. You know how to find me, Julie. Just remind me where we met. I'd love to talk with you. Also, if you have any specific questions as you're going through the tool or on anything else, I really would be happy to try to help if I can. It's my dream and vision to help as many people as possible learn to think like this so they can create the life that matters to them and makes them feel like they are creating a meaningful, wonderful life ahead. And that's my goal. The reason I had so many darn careers is because I had a rule that said, If I ever get to the point where I don't love what I'm doing, if I'm not spending at least 85% of my day doing the things I love to do, then I just go get a new career. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's what I do. I use the tool and I think about what I want to do next and how would I get there. And I've actually changed one career from my thinking mentor. He literally stopped me and said, it's time for you to have a new job. I was running an entrepreneurial company at the time. He goes, I'll give you an hour to have a new career, and then we'll meet for cocktails. And if you're not there in an hour, then I'll know you didn't learn from me what I thought you could learn. And you and I will never interact again. You know, because I know and you know it's time for you to have a new career. And so he sent me on my way, and I had 1 hour, and I literally did. I had 2 career options in an hour. So I know you can, and they were completely different from what I was doing. So it's not that hard. And so I really appreciate all of you. Don't be afraid to do it. It's not that hard. And if you have any questions, get a hold of me. Seriously, love to. Thank you so much for the great ideas. Ed, I might steal your dinosaur.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everybody. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you. Thank you all.
We all want to thank you for sharing your knowledge and your energy. This is how Ed makes a living. He is sharing free of charge his websites and his tools and the things that normally would be expensive to get. So we appreciate that he's sharing with you. And of course, you can engage him with your companies if you're interested. I hope you all don't exit your jobs immediately today, but it's a good time to rethink and re-examine where you are and whether you're happy.
Maybe you just rebuild them. Who knows? Or rebuild your companies, or yeah. Design your dream job within your company. That's always a fun one. Yeah.
Oh, there's a new one, flying pterodactyl. We've got all kinds of ideas. I'm sure you could keep emailing him with more ideas.
Yeah, there we go.
Remember that we have another session on Monday from 9 to noon. You can sign up where you signed up for this class on the College of Business website. If you have any questions, you can email me. And we appreciate that you all joined us today. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.